Welcome back, everybody. Today we're taking a look at another case study. The question that we are bringing to topic here is why does modern life reward output but ignore recovery? And what does that do to health over time? I am being joined by my associate.
Yeah, that's a very powerful question. I think that people are constantly on. They're constantly, I think the word right now is stimulated. People are constantly stimulated. And for example, they go to work, they're stimulated at work by customers or whatever they have to deal with at work. And they come home, either their partner is stimulating them, or the screens are stimulating them, or just maybe the fact that their fridge is empty is stimulating them. Our brains are just constantly turned on. And especially for people who are already burnt out, coming home to that or going to work with that is putting them in overdrive. So we confuse stopping, we confuse just chilling, waiting for 3 hours maybe, or just chilling for 3 hours. Stop. We confuse that with recovering. And I think the key insight is that most people aren't resting, they're just switching inputs.
Right. And well, to even understand that statement, we need to first take a look at what recovery used to mean, right? See, back then, physical recovery was built into life. What do I mean by this? People had their jobs 9 to 5, right? Afterwards, they'd get groceries or they just come home, turn on the TV, have a beer, whatever it is, that was their downtime, right? What is the difference now? Now, people don't really have downtime anymore. It's just one job onto the next job, or first job onto a side hustle, or job, school, vice versa. Physical recovery used to be built into life, right? And we had clear work rest boundaries. Now, I think that nowadays recovery has become a strategy, right? Where it's okay, how do I move things around in order for me to just have time to wind down, opposed to back then where it was just part of the environment. Now, my associate here, would you like to talk about what changed?
I think some modern shifts were that we were always connected to work. When we woke up, made breakfast, went to work, then we came home and we're like, okay, I had a long day, 9 hours out of the house, long day. I had to pick up some groceries on the way home. Let me just take a moment and chill. Get on my phone, open up Instagram, let's say, or TikTok. Couple scrolls down, I get someone yelling at me that I'm laying on the couch because I'm lazy. Didn't do anything all day. And I have to retire my bud line, right? And I think then I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta work. So I start working on.
It's almost like there's this social pressure to stay productive.
There's 100% a social pressure, and so then when people are lazy, they feel like they have to work more. When people are working more, that comes on to just adding on to their burnout that is already there. So this whole hustle culture and passive stimulation, we kind of removed recovery and without realizing it.
Right. Right. 100% agree. And to state, stress never really fully shuts off, which is why recovery is so important, right? Our nervous system stays activated, and there's this thing called what I like to call recovery debt, right? Let's say you work a double shift. That's 11 hours gone. You have only a handful of hours to sleep, and then you're back at it again the next day, right? The the fatigue that you accumulate between those 2 days, that ends up compounding, right? And I think this is why people feel off without even being sick.
And they don't give fixes to that.
Exactly, exactly. No one has a solution because it's kind of like this invisible illness that isn't really an illness, if that makes sense.
100%. And then we come down to the fact that no one actually teaches about recovery. They kind of They teach you how to just get to a more bigger state of burnout, let's just say. Right? Schools teach output, not recovery. Works reward availability. Healthcare treats the breakdowns and not the depletion. Healthcare treats the breakdowns, not depletion. If you can realize that they cannot give you or teach you how to prevent these breakdowns or this depletion, as I said, rewards availability. When you go into your job interview and you say, I can work 24/7, any day, any hour, put me wherever, boss, you're hired. You come in and you say, I can only work 3 days, maybe 5 hours a day. I got to think about it, you know? So,
And where does that leave the person, you know? Like, they have no time to themselves, to no time off to themselves, and no especially no time to educate and understand
what
why
is
their body
recovery?
exactly, and why their body is even being like this. And if no one is responsible for teaching recovery, people will just assume they're bad at living.
Yeah, and I think it also ties into, again, we're not, we research these topics, we research kind of the trends in society about how people move, and we can't teach you about how to recover, right? But we can definitely tell you from the research we've done that recovery does not include getting on your phone and being overstimulated for the next hour, flooding in thousands of information into you.
See, that's what people confuse the most, right? Ever since the boom of TikTok and short form content during COVID, where everyone was resting at home. See, we normalized social media during our downtime, and that's the main thing that people confuse now. They correlate downtime with social media, and like you said, they don't stop; they just replace the input.
Yeah, and I think just to take this a little further, the brainstorm of this is that it started around COVID time for sure. Because I can remember back, I don't know, even know. I just, maybe it's because of the fact that I didn't have a phone. But the thing is that I didn't really, do that kind of stuff when I was younger. When I wanted to chill, I literally chilled. Like I literally did nothing. I either sat in bed or sat in my chair or just did nothing, literally. And that right there is the perfect, perfect example of recovery because I am resting my mind, I am resting my body, resting my social after being at school for 6 to 8 hours. I'm after talking to hundreds of people. I'm resting that my social battery. All that kind of stuff needs to be rested. If you're not resting that, then it's going to lead to burnout. And and I think, I'm sorry to continue this a little longer, but I think what we missed is that stress never turns off. Did you touch on this a little bit?
I believe so, yes. But feel free to mention it again. It is a great topic.
I think that stress never turns off. I think that when you're at work, you're stressed. When in the morning, when you wake up, you're stressed. Before you go to sleep, you're stressed. I don't know what study that I learned this from, but I will tell you it is true. Before you go to sleep, the 30 minutes that you have before you go to sleep, that is when your brain will do what you want to do for the rest of your life. Let's say 30 minutes before you sleep, you scroll. What will you do the next morning? You're going to scroll. If you go before you go to sleep, you're stressing, the next morning you will be stressing. Same thing goes with if you do something productive. Right before you sleep, if you eat a meal or watch a movie or let's say read a book, the next morning you will do those things. And I think it is completely true. I know from my personal life, if I go to sleep reading a book, I will wake up and kind of just instantly get out of bed and get to my work. If I go to sleep, and I'm a habit to this as well, if I go to sleep and I scroll on my reels or watch my social media, I will wake up and scroll and watch my social media. It's so
Social
true.
media, exactly. It
It,
is so true. And like you said, or like you've stated before, the social media, right, is the input that we're that we're flooding our attention with. And now, I'm sorry.
No, I think I want to tie this back. We're going on a ramble, but I want to tie this back to the fact that health improves when recovery exists. And recovery isn't laziness. I'm trying to conclude everything. And
Right.
it is a skill. We're posting a video about this as well, but it is a skill and an environment to be in a recovery mindset. So, this is where Evernote ties in. Support matters because people can't design this alone. They can't design a routine, they can't add new habits alone. So, before you fix anything, you need to recover enough to feel human again. I think this is a very important topic, and I'm just going to leave it there. Before you fix anything, you need to recover enough to feel human again. We need to restart. It's the only way we're going to get somewhere. So, again, it's been Evernor. Would you like to add anything?
Yes, if there's one thing that you must absolutely get from this video is the societal pressure to stay productive is only as real as you let it be.
Thank you. All right, guys. It was Evernor. Pleasure. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.